Welcome back to the Whatnauts review show number 169, where each week we have a different story to talk about. It could be a comic book, could be a movie, it could be a manga, it could be something else. We read it, we watch it, we do what we have to do, then we come back here and talk about it. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am back, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how's it going?
I'm good, Kyle. It's good to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thank you for holding the fort down while I was on vacation.
Yeah, we got to do some fun episodes.
Hosts that got to come on and guest on the show and help keep us afloat. I appreciate it a lot. So thank you to everyone who helped out, and thank you to Melissa for soldiering through. You guys covered all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it was a good variety. And I think it was all stuff that you would have had an interest in. It all felt still within the typical review show habits. We did some comics. We watched Maniac, which I think you did pitch to me when it first came out. And I don't know why I didn't pick it back then, but I had fun watching it this time.
I think a long time ago. Yeah, I've seen it. So I know that I liked it and it's good. But yeah, there you go. This week, however, we are here to talk about Princess Jellyfish, a manga, which I believe there's an anime adaptation as well.
Yeah.
That I've seen floating around there. But this is a manga written by Akiko Higashimura and published by Kodansha. And I've seen this around here and there. I started reading this while I was out on my vacation, because I got back last Thursday night and it is Sunday morning now. And it was a good, relaxing read. It wasn't something that I had to like stress myself out of, like, oh god, I have to watch this whole thing or like finish this whole day. But it was a good, calm, relaxing read.
Yeah, pretty quick read.
Yeah, so I had pitched like a grab bag of manga stuff. I felt like it had been a while since we did a manga on the show. And you ended up picking Princess Jellyfish. What made you want to pick this one?
I think I've seen the first episode or two of this anime. I think a friend showed me this several years ago. Okay. And I remember it being cute. I like the premise. I always go for an anime story that is about adults.
Yes, you're a big fan of that.
I can get burned out on high school stories pretty easily, so I'll grab for the ones that are just about adult relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, I had seen this floating around. I think on Hulu is where I had seen it streaming. So I knew that there was I knew that there was an anime that was floating around out there, but I had never really taken an interest in this. And as I was just scrolling through Comixology Unlimited, where we read this, I was like, oh, I think I've seen that one before. So I clicked on that and was like, yeah, this will be one of the ones that I pitch. Especially since it was one that I felt like was going to be a little bit out of my comfort zone. Just like I wouldn't normally read this on my own. But it was an interesting choice. So that is what we did. We ended up reading the first 2 volumes available on Comixology Unlimited. However, you should know that covers the first 4 volumes if you are reading along on some other location. Yeah, because I guess Comixology does the like 2-in-1 volumes. So you read a good chunk of this, like a good initial chunk of this stuff. Melissa, what did you think? Now that we've read the first handful of volumes of Princess Jellyfish, What did you think?
This was fun. This was as cute as I remembered it. I think the characters are pretty endearing. The art style's very well done. You know, for being a series that is centered around fashion, there's so many outfits in it. That was a great part of it, just to see all these different outfits every time. There's a lot of work put into it, and it really shows. Yeah, it's a pleasant read. I thought it was sweet.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not my cup of tea. I think the more I read of the story, the more I got into it. Like, there were certain things that was starting to be like, okay, I kind of want to know where this story is going, or what they're going to do beyond this initial story. I think at first it was, I don't want to say light on content, but it felt like it wasn't really going anywhere.
Yeah.
Quickly, and I hadn't really been hooked into the characters yet, so it took a little bit for me to get interested. And there's, for something that is so kind of focused on these handful of relationships, it does kind of skip around a lot and be like, okay, what's going on over here, and what's going on over there, and here and there. And I kind of felt like it almost didn't dig into some of that stuff enough. Like like a lot of what was written was like, okay, I'm just starting to get into this. Okay, and then they switched scenes, and so it felt like it was teasing me the entire time. But yeah, the more I read, I think the more I was like, you know what, this isn't so bad. This is pretty pleasant and relaxing, and good, enjoyable read. Good stuff indeed. Speaking of jellyfish and stuff like that, one of the things that I did while I was on my vacations, I got to go to an aquarium and I got to see some jellyfish. That was not planned, that we would then read Princess Jellyfish. But yeah, I got to see some jellyfish up close and personal. And they had like a whole bunch of like fancy lights in them, so like red lights and green lights, like all the stuff that I have here in my podcast room. They had all sorts of fancy stuff, and so it looked neat. It looked neat as they were just floating and spinning and doing all sorts of stuff there. So it was good. When was the last time you went to an aquarium?
Oh, I went to Shed Aquarium in Chicago in 2018, I think. Like, first year I started this show. Yeah.
Interesting.
We've got a new aquarium that's opened up here in St. Louis, downtown. I haven't been to it yet. It's on my list to eventually get to.
I think I've been to an aquarium once before on like a school thing, or maybe like a church thing. I don't know. But it was a long time ago, and I didn't really care for it. So I feel like this was my first like true aquarium experience. Just like I got to go, I got to see sharks, I got to see big fish, small fish, funny looking fish, all sorts of stuff. Yeah,
funny looking fish are the best fish. Yeah. My favorite fish I've seen at an aquarium is called the paddlefish, I think. And it looks like a swordfish, but if that sword got like slammed in a door, it's like it has like a big spatula at the end of its nose. Like it's a swordfish, but it's like flattened out. It's not pointy. It's real weird looking.
Yeah. Fish are interesting creatures. They're strange, to say the least. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, let's see. I think with that, we will get into a synopsis of the book, a brief synopsis, and then we will get into our housekeeping and spoilers after that. Melissa, do you want to help me out with the synopsis of this one?
Yeah, this story is about a young lady named Tsukimi who is obsessed with jellyfish. When she was a little girl, her mom took her to an aquarium and showed her the jellyfish and talked about how they're their tentacles looked like lace. It looked like a princess dress. And she's like, Tsukimi, when you grow up and you get married, I'm going to make you a wedding dress that looks like this jellyfish. You're going to look like a real princess. And then her mom died, and when she was a kid, and now she's like 18, 19, 20 years old, still obsessed with jellyfish, carries that memory very close to her. And she lives in this apartment complex with these other otaku women, like single otaku women who don't have jobs. They're not in school. They just sort of live off of odd little tasks and their parents' money. And like this is a safe place for them where they can all go. They can all be as deep into their obsession as they want to be, and they're there to support each other and still not get jobs or boyfriends or anything.
No boys allowed.
And she's the owner of the apartment complex is this manga artist who never comes out and only like sends notes on like a slip of paper shoved underneath the door.
I thought she was one of the tenants too. Is she the one that owns the building? Because I thought it was the one that was into all the kimonos. It was her mother that owned it.
Yeah. That manga artist is the kimono woman's mom, and so I think the manga artist like owns the building. Yeah, and she yeah, her mother is the owner of the building, but is rarely present. Yeah, it's Chico is the woman in the kimonos, and she's more like the day-to-day manager of the place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, the owner of the building is like, no men allowed. And they're like, well, what if somebody brought in a man? What would be the penalty? And the note comes out from under the door and it just says death.
Yeah.
And Tsukimi is out one day. She sees a jellyfish in a little tank at like a pet store or something like that. And she's like, oh my God, you can't put those two jellyfish in the same tank. One of them is going to kill the other. She's freaking out, but she's like too nervous to talk to the store clerk until this beautiful woman shows up and sees that she's nervous and helps her. Like, no, do you think there's a problem with that jellyfish? We'll go talk to him. We'll get the jellyfish out of there. And so she thinks she's found this this beautiful, fashionable woman, stylish, as all the members of this apartment complex call them. They're terrified of the stylish. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like I was able to talk to the stylish woman, and the woman helps her bring the jellyfish home. And it turns out this is a man. This is a young man named Kuranosuke who just loves women's clothing. He loves fashion. He loves women's clothing. He uses wigs. He loves makeup. And he was not saying he was a woman. The Tsukimi just mistook him. They get back to her place, and he like takes off his wig or something, and she's like, oh no, I've brought a boy in here. I will be killed. And it's about their growing friendship, how she learns to be more brave and more confident, and Kuranosuke has to hide the fact that he's a boy from everybody else in the complex.
Yeah. It's an interesting group of characters for sure. And it's neat to see how their relationships are working and not working and being understood and misunderstood and all sorts of stuff. I really like a few of the other tenets of the apartment building that are just so out of touch with the world that they understand everything through their one obsession. It's like, that's like this character from this video game, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. But then to see how they are dealing with and understanding what is happening to the main characters and stuff like that, and how they relate to that is interesting to see. All of that good stuff. But yeah, that's about it. I guess the main problem of the story that we should mention is that their apartment building is about to be renovated and turned into a hotel, and they weren't all necessarily aware of that. They should have been, but they weren't all necessarily aware. So they need to kind of come up with something to be like, hey, we still live here. We want to keep living here. how do we fix that? How do we make them not renovate our building? So that is the big like problem that they are facing, and they are trying to come up with solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Go. I think that's kind of about it for basic synopsis stuff. So I say we take a quick break for housekeeping, and then we will be right back after that. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make, and yes, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and we'd love it if you would check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnauts, patreon.com/The Whatnauts is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/The Whatnauts, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you want to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. Big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier and above. So thank you to Sam. Thank you so much.
Sam.
We love you. We appreciate you. And thank you for being in our supposed hypothetical heist that we've been planning on on the captain's log to be
Thanks
our
for
hacker.
hacking for us, Sam.
Yeah. It's been great. So thank you. Exciting stuff that we have been doing here at the Whatnauts. Again, I've been on vacation, so there's been a number of guest hosts here on the Whatnauts review show. Go check all of those out. They covered some interesting stuff on those. I just got back on the captain's log a couple days ago, mentioned some of the things that I did on my vacation, all sorts of stuff. But we are about to have Marvel's What If on Disney Plus. So we're about to start up our reactor cores on that every Wednesday night. I don't know exactly what time we were doing the low-key ones at like 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'm probably going to be somewhere around there. But keep an eye on our Twitter, which is at the Whatnauts, so you guys can know the exact time for that stuff. Suicide Squad just came out. I watched it last night. I know we are planning on doing a reactor core for that as well. Again, we don't know exactly when we're gonna be recording that, but that'll be out on the feed very soon. So keep an eye out for that as well. Yeah, that's about it for housekeeping, I think. Melissa, let's get on to spoilers. There we go. We are officially in spoiler territory. Can you believe Will Smith shows up and kills himself again with these jellyfish?
Does he do that in a movie?
Yeah, it's
what movie is this?
Is it 7? No, what? Now I need to look and do that. But
I don't think he's in 7.
Will Smith.
It's a movie where he gets eaten by jellyfish. Is this an After
movie.
Earth?
No, it's not After
Is this an
Earth.
I Am
7
Legend?
Pounds.
7 pounds.
Yeah. That was a very depressing movie. Don't go watch that one.
Okay, I won't. You got
it. Anyways,
let's watch Men in Black several more times.
Exactly. That works. That works instead. Okay, Princess Jellyfish. So I need to have this Wikipedia page pulled up.
Yeah, the Wikipedia page is very helpful
at names here. And there's a good handful of characters. So.
Yeah, not that many of them, though. This is a story with like a fairly small character list, a very, small scope. There's not a lot of plot threads going on. Yeah, and like the supporting characters in the complex where she lives, what is this called? Amamizukan. Yeah. Yeah, they like the supporting characters there don't have their own subplots.
Not yet, at least. They do kind of help out every now and then, and their specialties kind of come into play somehow, some way. I'm sure we will get more of them down the road if we kept reading this, especially as the main character, her name is Tsukimi, right? She is starting to become, well, I guess in what we read, she hasn't necessarily become more confident, but she's discovering new things that she enjoys. That I think will end up leading to her becoming more confident or taking more risks and stuff like that. And I think seeing how that plays out is going to be interesting through the perspective of these side characters and how they deal with her being more of a stylish. More of this, like, you're not wanted here anymore because you did all these other things and stuff like that. Or do they start following suit? Do they start being like, hey, I think I can help out making these dresses, and that gets me some fame and notoriety and stuff like that, so that I can pay for my obsession even more and stuff like that. I have no idea, but yeah, I feel like down the road they would get their own side stuff.
Yeah, they're here often. They are frequently present, but Mayaya doesn't have her own subplot. She's just there to support everybody else. Banba, we don't follow Banba's individual adventures.
Banba was great. I liked her. I think she was maybe my favorite. Just because she has this like incredibly like messy curly hair. That is it just like the way she's designed, it's covering half of her face, so you don't see her face the entire time, which is kind of funny and mysterious. I want to know what she looks mysterious,
like.
Right?
Yeah, I like the characters in this story. They're most of them are pretty endearing. Like even if these otaku characters are relatable, even if you're not into what they're into to the degree that they're into it, you get it. Them. Yeah, you may see yourself in them. Yes.
Yeah. It's really funny because Mayaya, I guess that's how you say her name, is really into this video game called Records of the Three Kingdoms.
It's seemed like it was a historical drama.
I think maybe this was military tactical game.
It's a game? I never caught on that it was a game. I thought there might be a game component of it.
I only know it because one of the podcasts that I listen to, a video game podcast, they also really like that game, or like one of the hosts is like really into tactical like military games, and so that is one of the ones that they've played and I've heard them talk about. So they're like mentioning characters that I don't know, but I know from this podcast. And so it's just like, this is weird.
It's good.
Like it's like, I know she's talking about a video game, but
she's obsessed with something called Records of the Three Kingdoms, which seems like it is a Chinese, according to Wikipedia, a Chinese historical text which covers the history of the late Eastern Han Dynasty and the Three Kingdoms period. It seems like she's into that era of history and maybe like some of the historical fiction around it. She buys books. She watches like stuff on TV about it. Yeah, which is something I don't know that specific thing, but I get the historical drama nerds in general.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting for me to be like, I know it's not only a video game, like it is actual history, but I know it because of video games that have like dealt with that. So it's just like, this is weird. But yeah, good handful of characters. I like the dynamic that they have in the apartment because it's not a singular apartment that they all live in and they each have their own room, but it is actually like an apartment building where they each have their own apartments, which I guess more in Japanese culture, those apartments are smaller, like 1 room, maybe 2 room things. Because they would like go into Tsukimi's room and it's only her room. Like it is that like I don't know, like 4x6 tatami room where that's
feels like a dorm or something where they have like a communal bathroom and a communal kitchen and dining area.
And they each like have their own space, but they have this communal space where they do a lot of like shared meals. I think one night a week they do their like hot pot stuff where they all dump food in the pot and eat and have a blast. But on top of that, none of them really have jobs per se. Some of them are there because their parents own it or they have money from their parents or stuff like that. But one of them is this mangaka who does this like boys love manga. And is it they all like help her out. They're like the assistants to her. They'll like ink her pages and stuff like that and make sure they all get out to press on time and stuff like. And I like that dynamic that they have enough time and space to kind of do what they want and be their own thing, but they're also so close that they're constantly running into one another. And when the schedule is like, hey, we have a manga they're all in like work mode where they all have like a specific role. They all know to help out with this, and if they help out with this and this manga sells, they can continue to eat and live there and stuff like that. So they do kind of have a job. Kind of.
Yeah. They do some work. Mayaya has a whole speech where she talks about, and she's, I think Tsukimi's, like I said, she's like 18, 19, and I think the other ones maybe, adults, Mayaya might be like 32 or something. Like they're all maybe within the same generation or generation and a half. And she talks about how they're part of this lost generation in like Japanese culture where their parents are these baby boomers who lived through a very prosperous time and had a lot of money, and then there was like this economic bubble that burst. They're us. Well, we're like it seems like maybe the case is worse in Japan where like they're in a hiring freeze, like as a nation. Like they are from a generation where it is difficult to get a job. And she says, but our parents have a lot of savings. Like she has this whole speech where she's like, it's not wrong that I don't have a job and I rely off my parents, okay? It was generationally set up like this.
Yeah.
They have the money. Why shouldn't I use it? I can't get a job.
I feel you on that.
But, I do like the dynamic within the apartment a lot, that these women aren't antisocial. They're just very intimidated by cool, popular, stylish people. But within, their own kind, as it were, they're very social with each other. Even if there's seemingly no crossover between their fandoms, they get on with each other really well. They're very supportive of one another. You don't see as much that they have outside friends. You presume that they do. You presume Banba maybe goes to ride the train with other train fanatics, but they get along so well with each other. They do have the family hot pot night every week. I like that they're this very close-knit little family. Yeah.
Yeah. They like I feel like I would say they're antisocial, but I think part of what's happening in this book is kind of realizing that like being into stuff like that, being a nerd about something and
Mm.
obsessing and maybe not having the most stylish clothes or not knowing exactly what to do in social spaces exactly doesn't mean you're necessarily different. Um
Yeah.
like you might have your own way of doing things, but part of growing up is kind of realizing that no one knows what they're doing. We're all just
Mm.
kind of stumbling around and figuring it out. And I think even the, as they like to call them in the book, the stylish, the stylish people, right? They who look like they have it all together and know what they're doing and stuff. I feel like they also don't, right? Like they're just doing things in their own way, and
Mm.
it could work, it could not work. We have a character in here who is up to some shady stuff and is going about it in her own way, and it's probably not going to work out like she's hoping. You know? But she's so confident in like, this is what I do, this is what I know,
Yeah.
like this is the playbook to get what I want. Which is very similar to what these women in the apartment building is doing. Of just like, this is what I know, this is the playbook
Yeah.
that I know, and I'm going to stick to that for better or for worse. So,
Mm. Yeah, and they
nobody knows.
like they're terrified of the stylish, but like every time they do encounter a stylish person, well, that businesswoman's not very nice to him. But Kuranosuke, when he arrives, likes these other women well enough, and like he's sort of like, oh my gosh, you're wearing that, Mayaya, you're wearing a tracksuit with stirrup pants. Like he doesn't get their fashion, but he like wants to dress them up, kind of wants to help them. You know, and I think it shows that like the things that I do are just a skill that I set myself to learning, and anybody could do this. You could apply yourself. If you put forth a little bit of effort, there's really not that much difference between yourself and a stylish. It's about if you choose to present yourself differently, you can get there. It's just about your mindset.
Yeah. Or yeah, not necessarily presenting yourself differently, but knowing when to look a certain way or act a certain way and stuff like that. You can still be you. You can still be obsessed with trains, but if you're obsessed with trains and looking like this, it might help you to get a job on said trains or in the fashion industry, or to save your apartment building.
Yeah, they go to that town meeting. They want to save their apartment building, and Kuranosuke's like, you went dressed like that? If you really want to make an impression on these people, get them to take you seriously. Don't show up in your house clothes. And he dresses them all up, and I like that he doesn't dress up Chiko, because she's super into kimonos and like classical Japanese dress, and he's like, you look so fancy already.
Stylish,
like you look
in its
like
own way. Yeah.
He's like, you look super put together. Like, I don't have to change you at all.
Yeah, and I think his reasoning was also like, it adds variety. Like I have all of these like modern looks here, but then there's this classical look here, which gives a sense of culture to the look, or like historical culture and tradition to the look there. So yeah, like they are slowly but surely learning how to navigate the world. And it's an interesting read to see them having to work together and navigate that space there. So.
Yeah, and get opportunities to be more of themselves. There's a girl in the apartment complex named Gigi, who's a little bit quieter. She doesn't show up as much or say as much about, as the other characters do. But she's really into older men. The first time you meet her, she says she's been out at a butler cafe, which I had not thought about. If Japan has maid cafes, they may also have butler Yeah, they have a butler cafe with just like a distinguished like 65-year-old man in a suit. Like that's what she's into. And when the Kuranosuke is trying to get some of them to come over to his house so that they can help him make a dress, he tells Gigi, you know, my house is filled with pictures of past distinguished family members. And she's like, I get it. I'm there. She like drags everybody and everything that she needs over to that house. Then when she gets to talk to, I forget if it's his dad or his uncle, she's like opening up a little bit more than like you've seen her open up before. And like you sense, I don't know, almost like
she's kind of
the thing that you want. Yeah. Yeah, like there's a possibility for you. Like you look at these women and their obsessions, and like Tsukimi loves jellyfish. She gets a jellyfish. Chiko loves kimonos. She's a closet full of kimonos. She's got these beautiful dolls that wear kimonos. You know, like there's some level of attainability to a lot of them. Like Gigi, maybe she can date an older man. There may be an older man who wants to date her. Like that could work out. Banba's surrounded by trains. The only one it doesn't really work out for is Mayaya, because she's obsessed with the historical drama. Like, I don't know how you get closer to that than she already is.
Yeah. I mean, somehow helping out on like the history of the clothes that they wore back then or something. I don't know, to help out then with here's why this dress will sell and here's why this one won't. I don't know. But yeah, they each have their own stuff. They're interesting to follow. What did you think about Kuranosuke? That's his name, right?
Yeah, I liked him. I think he's very sweet. I think his backstory is interesting, where he's the son of this famous politician who had an affair with a showgirl. And he grew up with his mother, and she had this closet full of all these beautiful dresses that she would take him and show to him. Like, this is this dress I got here, and this is when I wear it, and this is what I like about it. He loved to like spend time with her in her closet. And then when he was a kid, his dad took him, like, I will take full custody of the child because I come from this line of serious male politicians. I want another son. Let me take the boy. And Kuranosuke has no interest in politics. He misses life with his mom, and that's why he dresses the way he does. He's like, if I'm wearing dresses all the time, nobody will take me seriously as a possible politician, which is what I want. Like, I want to be the misfit son if it means I don't have to follow in my father's footsteps. I have no interest in that. And he puts on the dresses and the wigs and the makeup, and it just makes him feel at home. It makes him remember those good times with his mom, and he's trying to get back to his mom. Like, his dad took him away, but his mom is still out there. He's trying to like get her address. Like, he doesn't exactly know how to get back to her, which is a journey I was interested in, but we don't get very far with that one in these volumes that we read.
And to me, he was an interesting character because he described his cross-dressing as a hobby rather than a lifestyle. So he like this is not I think some people might vaguely point to this as a trans character, but it's not, because he definitely identifies as a boy, as a guy, but just enjoys the fashion and the stuff of women's clothes and stuff like that, and is doing it both as a hobby and to like get back at his father for being like, no, screw you, I don't want to be in politics and all that stuff. I'm gonna go do my own thing. And so like he's often seen as a woman and perceived as such.
Yes.
Though he does not personally identify as which is
like I said, he's
kind of thing to do. And I know in a lot of Japanese manga and in a lot of Japanese manga and anime, they're I don't live there, so I don't know exactly, but I feel like the way they deal with trans characters isn't always the best, and so something like a character cross dressing is also like, ugh, this could go really bad. I don't know if this is gonna be good, but I feel like they've done an okay job with handling this character and not stepping on toes and not being like, ooh, that probably didn't age so well or stuff like that. It is him just being like, no, I'm a guy, but I like these clothes. That's it.
Yeah. So. I like this presentation of how a la carte gender presentation can be. You know, he is this cisgender male, but he's like, I love women's clothes. I am not a woman. I don't act as a woman in any other way. I just want to dress like this. And yeah, he's the fact that he's not acting as though he is a woman. You know, he doesn't. I mean, it's a manga. I don't think he's doing a fake voice. Like, I can't tell if he's altering his voice. The word bubbles to make it seem like he is.
He has a deeper voice, but it seems like it's not always noticeable. So maybe he is lightening it up a bit here and there, but yeah, it's not entirely clear.
Yeah, I do like that Tsukimi and like everybody in this apartment building just looked at him and thought he was a woman. Like he's never lying. The only thing is that when he's like, oh man, like like they're having dinner or whatever, and he's like, this boy loves steak, and Tsukimi has to like elbow him to get him to stop. Like she's sort of covering for him on his behalf. But there is the part where they go to his house and his dad is there, and he's like, yeah, this is my son, and they're like, so your dad introduced you as your son. What's the story there? And he's like, I can't come clean to these women. If they know I'm a boy, they'll never let me around them anymore. I won't get to spend this time with Tsukimi. So then he comes up with this lie where, no, I am a girl, but my dad is so obsessed with having these strong male heirs that he like raised me as a boy.
Yeah, and then there's another scene where they need to change his clothes, and they pull down his shirt, and he has on these like padded bra, like strapless thing, and they're just like, oh my god, she has small tits. Just like she's flat chested.
Right, like they not don't even like they don't key into that.
Compute.
Yeah. Right. Like, they're like, this is a woman who's just lying about her chest size. Yes.
Yeah. It's so funny. And then that's kind of what they call him from now on. It's like, oh yeah, the small breasted girl. He's just like, all right, well.
Yeah. And I also like that Kuranosuke's dad finds his dressing habits a nuisance, but isn't as harsh with him as you might have expected. Like, he's not very hateful to it. I feel like the way he dresses is like, if he was dressing in any unusual way, his dad may have behaved the same. It's not the fact that it's feminine. I think the fact that it's just so over the top, where he's showing up in these like super tall heels and these really bejeweled dresses. Like, I don't think he's upset about the difference in like gender presentation so much, just as the fact that he's like, oh, can't you just wear something normal? Like, I don't think it matters so much what normal is. Because I was reading that and I'm like, I don't, like, there's no like specific like gendered insults he's throwing at his son. He's just like, oh, you're doing something annoying again.
Right.
If you can't wear the clothes I bought you, will you go back to your room?
He's not calling him gay.
Right. Yes.
Like, I was expecting there to be a more harsher being like I'm disowning you, like, go back to your mom here, here's her stuff. But yeah, it is this just like, oh, you, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Go fix your outfit.
Right. Yeah. It felt so much like any story you've seen where a teenager comes downstairs in some like trendy outfit, like in like giant baggy jeans with chains on them or whatever. Like, his dad reacts the way like any of those sitcom dads react.
Their dad or uncle, again, I'm not sure who was who exactly, but yeah, they reacted in a way that is also kind of a caricature or stereotype of like an out of touch politician. When the kids came over, he was like, I want to know what the youth think of the government. And it's just like, that's like, what do you are like, that's why he's not reacting in this like strange way. It's not that he's this like super conservative thing where it's like, my son will not be a cross dresser and not be gay. He's just like, I don't understand what the kids are doing these days.
Right.
Who knows?
I don't get you. Yeah, why don't you grow up? It seems like it's more the attitude, not like, why don't you be a man? It's like, why don't you just be an adult, please?
Yeah, which is an interesting take. Not what I would expect, but I feel like this book is also not necessarily trying to get into the politics of his family. It's just the fact that they are politicians. And like his uncle is the prime minister and he's not doing a good job. And I don't know if it's ever, they get into that deeply, like why people don't like him, what the public opinion is. We just know that it's bad and his uncle's stressed out and is like, kind of a flake about things and is like drunk and is like, the people hate me. I'm just going to hide out at my brother's house and pester my nephews. Rate. Wow.
Yeah.
That's his uncle's 10.
An odd right. His uncle's kind of an odd buffoon and his dad is a little bit more serious and trying to like improve the family image and like climb up the political ladder and like bring his older brother with him. Yeah.
Speaking of, let's talk a little bit about that older brother.
Shoo.
This is the one, that did take after the father and did get into politics, is a much more straight-laced, well-put-together, kind of quiet and reserved guy. But is in this for, like, he is the, like, salary man type of thing, where he is working hard, he is all about his business, and that's it. Like, besides the job that he does, you don't see any kind of hobbies or what he's into or stuff like that. And he is kind of embarrassed by his younger brother, but not so much that he like won't really be seen around him. He's just like, you're here. Like, this sucks. Now I have to figure out how to get you out of here. But it's not this like huge crisis of just like, oh my god, I'm not related. No. He's just like, all right, now I have to deal with you.
Yeah. They've got a pretty solid dynamic with each other. You know, they're not. They seem close enough for being these like half brothers with like a 10-12 year age gap between them, and you know they both have taken such different lifestyles. For as many differences as they have, it seems like they've got a close enough relationship. They get along well enough with each other.
And then comes Tsukimi, and this is where the love triangle starts, where Tsukimi thinks the older brother is incredibly handsome and stuff, and she's super into him. He's super into her as well, but Kuranosuke is also into her and has this like added layer of the cross-dressing where when she is more female presenting, like she seems more at ease with him and is more comfortable and will like cry on his shoulder and stuff like that. But as soon as he reminds her that he's a guy, she panics and is and not so much that like, oh my god, you're a boy and I think you're cute, but is like, oh my god, you're a boy and I'm associating with you.
Like Tsukimi feels a lot more comfortable with Kuranosuke when he's wearing a dress, because then it's just like, oh, I made a friend outside of my usual social class. I made friends with a stylish, and it's unusual, but it's not anything bad. She is intimidated when she is reminded, oh, this is a guy. Like, she doesn't have a crush on him, but it's just this nervousness of, it's a boy. I don't know what to do with boys. I'm not even supposed to associate with boys. I would strike out completely if I tried, and I would be like kicked out of the apartment for bringing a boy in here. So she's stressed about him on a variety of levels. Yeah, and she does have like a big legitimate crush on Shu, who's a crush on her back, but only when he sees her when Kuranosuke has dressed her up. Like, he's
has,
seen
like,
her
makeup on and stuff like that. And
he's seen her all dolled up.
Recognize her when she's in her like normal clothes.
Yeah. Like, he loves dressed up Tsukimi, and like he's interacted with regular Tsukimi politely, but yeah, it doesn't click with him that that's the same girl. Like, she just has her glasses back on now, so like his crush just turns on and off with her. Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic, because we've seen some conflict of like the uncle accidentally exposing that he is actually his son. Or something like that, the father, not the uncle. But there is some stuff like that. There is this conflict with this other woman who is kind of in charge of the whole redevelopment project.
Yeah.
And is trying to kind of trick and court Chu. That's his name, right? Chu or Shu?
Shu.
Is trying to kind of take advantage of him to kind of further this development project along and get some money and some political backing. And she doesn't necessarily have a crush on him, but is really only doing it for the advantages in her job. And he is kind of not oblivious, but is somewhat of a pushover to right to just like no, don't do this, chummy, but wait, don't go, like I don't know what to do here, this is a weird situation. And like that, when Tsukimi sees him around her, she's just panicked of like, I'm never gonna have a chance. This is ridiculous. I hate her.
Yeah.
What is going on here? What are all these feelings? I don't understand this. And she's trying to navigate that while seemingly being completely oblivious to why Kuranosuke is doing all of this for her and being like, let's make some money, let's figure out how to make a dress that looks like a jellyfish. Like, she has no idea why he's spending all this time with her, and she hasn't realized it yet.
Yeah, I like Kuranosuke's crush on her. I like that he's sort of slow to, like, he likes her immediately. Like, he finds her endearing. He has an interest in her life. He goes over there to see her, but it does take him a while to realize he has a crush on her. And he's like, I've done so many things with hotter women in my past. Like, he talks about like what a heartthrob he was in like high school. He's in college, but he never goes. And like there's a scene where he does go back to college, and all these girls are like, Kuranosuke, you're back. Do you want to carry my books, Kuranosuke?
Yeah.
And he's like, if I have all of these other opportunities, why am I so interested in her? Like, he's just surprised at himself that this is the time when he falls in love for this type of girl.
Yeah. And he, like, there's this one scene that I really, really enjoyed, that he walks in on her kind of with these, like, these fabrics and blankets wrapped around her and this like thing on her head to be this kind of veil, and he sees her in like in the starlight, in the moonlight, and he just thinks that she is this like glowing princess jellyfish, and then you see what she thinks, and she's just like, oh, he saw me in these like pathetic rags, like this is embarrassing, like I look like a mess. And
she's like draping this
beautiful.
she's draping this fabric over herself because she's helping him make this dress. And she thinks about, when she was little and her mom told her she would make her a wedding dress. And now, her mother's dead. She grows up and she thinks, I'm never going to get married. This is never going to happen to me. But she kind of drapes the fabric over herself like a veil and lets herself daydream for a moment. And she's mortified to have been caught in that scenario. Right.
Yeah.
She's like, oh my God, I look like a little kid playing dress up. And Kuranosuke's like, you're beautiful. You're a princess.
Yeah. Yeah, they have an interesting relationship. If you had to make a bet, who do you think she will end up with down the road?
I don't know. It's like her and Shu they mutually like each other. They mutually have a crush on each other. I feel like if Shu, if he was just told that's the same girl, I don't think he dislikes regular the plain mode Tsukimi. He just doesn't it doesn't you're right, it doesn't connect in his head. That's the same girl. It's not like if he learned it was the same girl that he wouldn't love her anymore. He doesn't seem like he's he's not a shallow man. I think he would still like her. There's a possibility there. That, if everything lined up, that could work out well. Yeah, she just doesn't have a crush on Kuranosuke. Besides the fact that, oh God, it's a boy. Dude, she doesn't have any specific feelings towards him, just two boys in general.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's I'm wondering if she's not going to end up with either of them.
Yeah.
And it is more of this thing that when Shu discovers how obsessed she is with this stuff, not that he's grossed out or put off, but it's just
yeah,
okay, now I see you for who you actually are. Maybe I'm not as interested, but I still like you. We can still be friends, just not necessarily romantically or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then Kuranosuke is finally getting to help her become this person that he envisions, but is also I feel like the more confident she becomes in being out there and putting herself out there, she might not end up being who he sees her as, which would be an interesting turn. But still, I think still having that really close relationship of there probably could be something there if they tried, right? But probably isn't going to work out. That's kind of where I feel like it's gonna go. It's not a Archie situation where it's well, I like both of you. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's also not a oh, you're destined to be with this one person, right? Just it seems like she's meeting people along her path to truly finding out who she is. Which could be romantic for a time, and then might move on past that. So
yeah, and at one point, I think Kuranosuke points out that she's maybe 20 and Shu is 30, which isn't a huge, which isn't an awful age gap between the two of them. But he does say, is this something that the public will find disfavorable? If you are trying to be this politician and you do marry this woman that's that much younger than you.
Yeah. It's iffy because she's that young. She's only in her early 20s, right? Where if she was 25 or 30 and he was 35 or 40, that'd be all right, cool. Yeah, that's fine. It's a big gap, but that's fine. They can do what they want.
The gap doesn't feel that large between the two of them. I think because Shu seemingly does nothing else in life but help his father with political tasks. He feels as inexperienced in the world as Tsukimi does, just with different parts of the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you had to if you kept reading this book, what would you want more of? Is there something you felt that was missing, or something that you wanted to see more of that they just gave you a tease of there?
Oh, I would like to learn a little bit more about Kuranosuke's mom, because it seems like his dad got custody of him, and seems like his mom is out there and he needs her address, and it's not clear to me, like, did you forget what your mom's name is? Can you not look her up? Did she, like, what are the other obstacles to why he hasn't gotten back with his mom?
Yeah.
I'd like to learn more about that. Oh, I think that was the only thing where it's like, I really feel like something is missing. I would have liked that situation to just be clarified a bit more. But like, I love the other girls in the apartment building. I want to learn more about them. You know, we've got this no boys rule. You know, like if Tsukimi's dad came to visit her, like how does that interact with that rule? Has there ever been a woman? Because this apartment complex seems like it's been going for, you know, several years. Has there ever been somebody who lived there and then did find love and move out? You know, I'd like to see what their commute, and like we see that they have a website, like they have a forum for these adult otaku women, and that's how like they get people to live in this apartment building. But yeah, who is that larger community who's like on that website? Can we meet some of them, you know, at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has there ever been, like, has Banba ever like been on a train and seen a guy there who is as into the train as she is, you know, whether or not she may be interested in that person romantically, but like, you know, you're so freaked out by men. How often have you encountered a man who kind of is on your level?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be interesting to see some history or legacy.
Yeah.
There of like, is there someone they can go to for advice of like, hey, you used to be one of us. Like, what do we do in this situation? That would be an interesting character. I definitely want to see more of Kuranosuke's other life. Like we see him interacting with these characters, but we don't, like, we know that he does other things. Like you mentioned, he's in school, but he barely goes. He was super popular in high school. He's still super popular. He's always
clubbing.
At the club. Yeah. At one, like, what is his other life like? How do they interact with him? How do they treat him and his crush dressing? Do they even know about all of that stuff? Because it seems like they don't necessarily know. Like he's not doing that at school.
Yeah, we only see him go to school once, and he is wearing more traditionally masculine clothing. I think we see him like on the phone with like some of these girls that he goes clubbing with, and they're talking about like, would you help me pick out a dress or something like that? You know, would you help me do my makeup?
They know he's fashionable, but it's not necessarily clear if they know that he crush dresses.
It doesn't seem like something he hides, so I would imagine that maybe they do know this, and I think that would add to the joke that all these women of the apartment complex are so out of touch that they mistook him for being a woman, and they're the only ones who have done that.
Yeah. That could be interesting. I really like these moments where the narration comes in and Tsukimi is talking to her mom and stuff like that. I would like to see them go back to an aquarium. And to interact with that and learn more of like, okay, now that we like have established that we are making these dresses to sell to save the apartment, do we only need to go off her sketches of these things, or can we actually go to an aquarium and view this stuff in motion and see how it's supposed to live and move and stuff like that? How will that change their inspirations? Is there another fish or something that they can get inspired by that might help or throw things off, or who knows?
One of the subplots that we do start on like later on in these volumes is that Kuranosuke wants Tsukimi to make him a jellyfish dress. And he's so taken by this. Like, he loves to see her work on it. He's amazed at, like, how in the zone she gets when she's doing this. Like, he likes to see her like that. He finds it admirable. And he's also like, I love these dresses. I would love to look like that. And what if we sold these? And, like, he has these fantasy sequences where he's like, we'll make these dresses. Then we'll be on the cover of Vogue. And, like, there's this little, like, narration bubble that says, he's skipping a lot of steps here. I'd like to see that subplot continue. I would love to see do they make more of these dresses? Do they take off the way he wants them to take off? Is there more attention for them? You know, could they start making, you know, a little fashion industry together?
Yeah. Was there anything about this manga that maybe you didn't like as much or just didn't care for as much? Or just thought like, that one's not, that part is not speaking to me?
I don't know. I liked Tsukimi talking to her mom, but she did it a lot. I think I think I would have liked that not used quite as heavily. Or like for her to like talk about how she does it more often. Like, when I'm in dark places, I still think of my mom. You know, when I lived at home, I would go to her gravesite. But now that I've moved to the city, I can't. I just think about her all the time. Like, I would have liked it to be like actively discussed more, for her to like think about how she thinks when she's in these stressed out situations.
That I think becomes a problem because of what I mentioned at the start, where I feel like we do hop around a lot to these different scenes or locations or characters, and the scene will start and progress and then just start to get interesting, and then we'll switch to something else, and it's just like like stay there, like dig in a bit. And I think if they did that, the narration, which like I mentioned I enjoyed, but I agree with you too, happens a lot because it's switching a lot. And so if it digs in and stays with these scenes a little bit more and explores these characters just a little bit more, then I think that narration would come at less frequent intervals and stuff, which might make it seem more natural or more like, okay, we've spent some good time with this, let's move on.
Yeah, it's a device I like. It reminded me of Love Alarm, when the protagonist in that show keeps flashing back to like all these experiences she had as a child. I'm like, I think that's interesting. I want to learn more about it. You were showing me the exact same footage over and over and over again. It's like, I like this. Just don't repeat it so often. Make it like slightly different.
Yeah. The narration kind of reminded me of the narration in Nana. I don't know if you've read or seen that one. That's a manga that I really enjoy, about these two women named Nana, who meet on a train into Tokyo, and they end up becoming roommates, but they are completely different. One is like super into like girly feminine stuff, and then one is into like punk rock and smoking and like all that sort of stuff. But yeah, they end up becoming roommates and really good friends. And I haven't read the entire thing, but I read the first like couple volumes, and so it definitely seemed like they were falling in love and stuff like that. But they had this narration that would come at like the beginning and end of the chapters that was a lot more reflective of like what had happened. It seemed like the narration was in the present or the future, and the actual like story that you were seeing and reading was in the past. So it was like reflecting on all of the stuff of like, I didn't know it then, but you know, something. And it was, at least in the translation that I read, it was more poetic than like the regular just like conversational speech that you see or what you typically see for a narration. It seemed, yeah. I keep using the word reflective, but just real pensive and like looking back, and there's a lens of like nostalgia and endearingness. I don't even know if that's a word there, but yeah, it was more poetic, and I kind of felt the same way about this too, not in the sense that it was poetic, but it was very personal.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I enjoyed that, but yeah, you're right. It was just like, okay, this is happening a lot.
Yeah. Before we close out, I just want to mention I really like the art in these books. I think it's just lovely, clean lines. Like it's a show with it's a story with like a smaller cast. It's very personal and introspective, and there's just a lot of emotional close-ups on everyone's face. But all the emotions are portrayed so well. You know, the art design's very endearing to look at. I like how differently the characters would be illustrated. Like Tsukimi looks more like a normal person than the other women of her apartment building do. But I liked them. I liked that they were like a little bit more exaggerated. I think they're different body types. Like they're all like shaped and sized completely differently. They're all very vivid and striking. Yeah, I love what Yaya is always doing. I don't understand it, but I like how like consistently like dramatic she is, like waving her arms around and jumping around and yelling and I dig the art. And like I said, all these different outfits, gorgeous.
Yeah, the outfits, the sense of fashion, I think it really shines through. And yeah, these like magical moments where it punches in on a character and it has them longing for something or expressing some kind of emotion, whether they don't know what it is or they're scared, or there is this like sense of love or something that they are feeling when it punches in on that. The detail and the artwork and on that is gorgeous. So absolutely worth checking out. Not necessarily my cup of tea or what I would read on my own if I was just checking through some manga stuff. But it's a slice of life romance kind of fashion stuff, which those are always interesting to check out.
Yeah.
Good stuff indeed.
I liked it. It's charming.
Absolutely. Do you want to check in on bingo?
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, because we didn't clear this up a couple weeks ago, was I permitted to keep playing bingo while you were gone? Because I did.
I say go for it. I say
awesome.
Why not?
Okay. Because I got like 5 things. Thank goodness.
I was going to say, I got 5 bingos. What? No, Melissa, stop. No. You take it back.
I did get my first bingo, though. Finally, I am catching up to you. But yeah, Maniac was a show that went to so many places. So I was able to get a courtroom scene, crashing a fancy party, a one-shot sequence, and a spaceship AI. They've got that supercomputer who's controlling their lab facility, which isn't literally a spaceship, but it's close enough. It's like what I meant.
I'll let you get that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then Check Please gave me Tall Guy and Small Guy are friends.
Good. I think the only one I can do for this one is Tall Guy and Small Guy are friends, just with the height difference between Mayaya and Banba.
Yes.
But I feel like that's maybe stretching it, considering they're otaku
that's what I meant. Like when I wrote down just any visually throwing 2 characters together. I wrote Tall Guy and Small Guy are friends, but like gender doesn't matter. They could be 2 different sized animals and it doesn't matter. They could friends is relative. Maybe they're dating. Maybe they're just like a comic relief duo frequently thrown together. I would count them for that square.
More of that they are both tenants in this apartment. I don't know if I would describe them as friends exactly because of how much they are into this like otaku stuff.
I call them friends. I think you frequently see one in the company of the other, and they'll go out and do things like non-fandom related things. Like, we're going to this bathhouse together just to take a bath. Yeah. We're going to the grocery store together to make dinner.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the only one that I got from.
Yeah, it's good.
This one. No robots blamed for murder. No magic book. No ancient
I still don't have a ghost.
Yeah, still don't have a ghost.
I'm waiting to get to ancient evil. I think that's a very fun one. We should have had it already.
We should have, yeah. So, you said that you mentioned you got a bingo based off some of the stuff that you have there. Can you rate off the ones that have given you a bingo?
Let me open that back up. Fight in the Rain from Dark. Mom in an Apron from The Way of a House Husband. Spaceship AI and one-shot sequence from Maniac. And then Adult Doesn't Understand Kid, which is like one of the first ones I wrote down, and now I don't remember what that was from.
Yeah, I haven't written down any of the things that these are.
Yeah, I didn't denote these. Oh, it was the Mitchells versus the Machines, I guess.
Oh, yeah. That would make sense. Well, it doesn't understand kids, because the one that I have, the only bingo that I have right now is Awkward Hand Touch, Mom in an Apron, The Sound of Cicadas, Mysterious Scar, and Titties.
Ooh.
So that's what I got.
I forgot that you didn't write down, like, Dark definitely had several instances of Mysterious Scar. I definitely give you that for Dark.
I think that's what I put for Dark. I think, because there is the Wooler and his eye, and
I thought you were listing ones you still had yet to get. Okay.
Oh no! This is the bingo that I got. So, anyways, that's our update for review show bingo. We've been playing bingo with a bunch of movie and comic book tropes. We're just continuing along to see how many bingos we can get till the end of the year. And then I think starting in the new year, we'll start with a clean card and maybe a slightly larger card. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that's it for bingo. So Melissa, do you have any recommendations, stuff that you would recommend if people liked this, they might want to check out?
Yeah, this is a show I've mentioned many times. You're probably tired of me always pulling this out of my recommendation back pocket. But a while ago, we covered an anime called Watakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, which is about a woman who goes to a new office job. She's a big otaku. I think she's really into like boys love manga. I think that's what it was. And
something like that.
Yeah, all of her relationships have been ruined when her boyfriends find out what a nerd she is. And she's like, I'm going to a new job. I'm getting a fresh start. I can't let anybody know that's what I'm into. I'm just going to act normal. But she gets to this office and like this old school friend of hers is there and he knows everything she's into. And she's like, oh my God, he's going to break my secret wide open. I can't get a boyfriend here. And he's like, if you're such a big nerd about that, he's like a huge gamer. He's like, I have trouble interacting, with people too who aren't on my level of fandom for something. He's like, if this is so hard for both of us, why don't we just date each other? And it's about them dating each other out of convenience and then figuring out, like, could this be a real loving relationship?
Yeah.
I dug that a lot. I really like stories about people who, not just in the general, perhaps more Western sense of like being a nerd, just sort of feeling like a misfit or an outcast or whatever, but people who have this life-defining obsession and how that it affects other parts of their life and their relationships and their habits and their goals and things like that. And that was a good story for that one.
Yeah.
I recommend that. We did an anime movie a while ago. Was it Flavors of Youth?
Flavors of Youth.
Was that what it was called?
3 short stories centering
Yes.
kind of around food. Yeah.
Yeah. It was called Flavors of Youth. It was a combination Japanese and Chinese animated movie production. You know, it is, like Kyle said, an anthology film. These 3 little stories, they relate to a food in some way, like a food that gives you a memory of your past. But one of these stories is about a woman who's a fashion model. And she's
right.
Yeah, she's like in her 30s and she's kind of on the cusp of maybe not being able to be a supermodel anymore. And it's about her dealing with that. So if you just want to see more anime fashions, that's a good place to go. And then another recommendation, I could not remember the name of this show. Like everything I Googled wasn't getting it to me. So I just Googled NEAT anime. NEAT being the abbreviation for not in education, employment, or training. So like the women of the apartment complex in Princess Jellyfish. The show I was trying to get to, I did find it, is called Osamatsu-san. This is a show that Sam was super into like 3 or 4 years ago. And we watched a bunch of it. And then I completely forgot what the name was. And I'm like, yeah, do you know the one about the brothers? Is Sam awake? Can I text Sam now? What's it called? It's called Osamatsu-san. And Osamatsu is one of these 6 brothers. They're sextuplets, I think. And all of his brothers have names, like all their names end in Matsu, like Ichimatsu, something else Matsu. I just called the show The Matsus, which is why I couldn't remember the name anymore. And I'm like, I know I can't Google that. That's not going to get it to me. But this is a comedy. It's just about these 6 brothers who have, 6 adult brothers who still live with their parents and have nothing going on in their lives. And it's about them like trying to find girlfriends, trying to find jobs, getting into like, money making schemes, stuff like that. It's very silly. I think it was based on a manga, or maybe not even a manga, maybe something more like a comic strip. It feels very comic strip like. And not just because these brothers all vaguely look like John Arbuckle.
Okay.
I don't remember much about the show because it was something I would watch through Sam. I don't know how long it is. I don't know where you find it. I just remember it being kind of fun.
There you go. There's just some good recommendations. I think those work there. I have a few. I already mentioned Nana. I think you would like that one if you enjoyed this book as well. I really enjoyed that one. For a slice of life kind of romance book that seemingly wouldn't be like my cup of tea, I loved it. I thought that book was phenomenal. And yeah, I highly recommend checking that one out. I do have to kind of give a warning. I don't think that book ever got finished. I know the creator got sick as like later in the books, like I think it made it to like 14 something volumes, and then she got sick and went in the hospital and had to stop making it. And by the time she got back out, it was like a year or 2 down the road, and it was just like, I'm gonna work on other things now. So I don't think it ever properly wraps up, but I know that a lot of people really like that book, and I think it is worth checking out regardless because it is very, very good. Another manga that we've checked out here on the show that I would recommend is The Drops of God. This is about another person who is kind of like super into well, I guess the main character in this sense is not super into it, but has been trained from a young age to actually really know a lot about this stuff. And he just doesn't realize it yet. And so, it's them basically trying to find these handful of wines that their deceased father has like not left behind but hinted at. They exist. They're out there. You need to find them. And whoever finds the most of them will inherit my collection of wines. And this book kind of reminded me of that in the sense that these characters are like so into their one specific thing, and that book was so into its one specific thing. With that, I think the Drops of God would be one to check out. And then I had another one. Let's see if I can find it again. I don't remember what it was. It was another something that we covered on here for anime or manga or something. Gracious, let's see here. I'm scrolling through our list of all of this stuff. It's
quite a
not
storied
Sweetness and
history.
Lightning,
Yeah.
though Sweetness and Lightning is good. It was good. Was it? I guess I don't remember. Oh. This is why I need to start writing these things down.
Fairy Tale is also about a bunch of characters who live together. If the shared living spaces part is important to you, Fairy Tale had that.
Here's one that I can recommend. Kids on the Slope. This is a favorite of mine. It is kind of a slice of life music romance. And the anime adaptation of the manga is fantastic. It's by the same guy who does Cowboy Bebop and Space Dandy and all that stuff, Samurai Champloo and stuff like that. And this is a slice of life story, and it is kind of about these kids being into music in their relationship with that and falling in and out of love of music as well as with themselves and with each other and stuff like that. And it's a phenomenal story, and I cry every time I watch that one. It is so good. But yeah, that would be another like slower slice of life thing I think you guys would enjoy. So
yeah,
there you go.
That's a good one. That's from long ago. That was like in the first 5 episodes you and I ever did together.
Yeah, I was like, here's one of my favorites. We need to do this one.
Yeah.
So good stuff. Good stuff. So Melissa, it is your turn to do some pitches. What do you got for me?
Well, first, let's talk about our end of the month special. We didn't confirm this to the audience on our last episode. So earlier this year, we do, at the end of the month, we do an episode where we continue one thing to its conclusion, instead of jumping around every week. Earlier this year, we watched all 4 seasons of *Halt and Catch Fire*. We watched all 3 seasons of *Dark*. We've got another TV show queued up for later in the year. But this month is sort of a break. And we wanted to try something new. We are going to be reading a book, a prose book, because we frequently describe ourselves as book club style, and we certainly read many graphic novels and comics. But I thought, let's read a book, one traditional book once, to say that we did it. So at the end of the month, we're going to be reading, I don't know if you'd call this a traditional book. We are reading House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. This is a book I've heard about frequently. I pitched it to you. You agreed. Yeah. You agreed to this giant thing, Kyle.
I certainly did. I didn't realize it was going to be that big, but it's interesting because it's not your typical standard prose novel.
No.
Which is kind of why I was like, if we do a book, we should probably do something like this, that we probably, if we do decide to do books down the road on more stuff like this, there's probably few and far between things like this. But let's just do this one and knock it out.
Yeah. This is the most book that we could do. It's daunting, but I'm glad we didn't pick like a story that we could easily imagine as a movie. I look at this thing, I don't know how this could be a movie. What a book this is. A book's book for sure. The story is about it's about a family who lives into a new house, and they find that the house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. I found this in the horror section. So there's some construction horror around that. Architectural horror. I don't know what you'd call this mini genre. It's an architectural horror story as the family deals with this weird house.
Oh no, the columns, they're ionic. No.
That's the main story, but there's a lot of like, there's framework around that. Like there's like a guy who like gets manuscript pages from somebody else. Like it's several generations until you get into what the main story is. And the book has a lot of supplementary material and appendices and like weird notes and footnotes. The pages are arranged very strangely. This is a huge book, but like I open it up. Some pages have like 3 words on them. The text is arranged very strangely, which is another reason I've been curious to check this book out. This is all I knew about it. It's a spooky house and like it doesn't present text the way a normal book presents text.
Yeah, which is why, despite it being like 700 something pages, it's like, okay, well, that's not so bad. Like that, since there's some that have like 1 sentence on the entire page.
And I did the math, and we'd only have to read like 33 pages a day every day until we get to the end of the month, which isn't terrible, you know?
Not bad.
So that's the end of the month. Just letting you guys know ahead of time. But next week, it is my turn to pitch you ideas for next week. And I have 3 audio dramas.
Ooh.
And these are all newer audio dramas. I think 2 of these like just wrapped up and one of them is from like late 2019. These are all things I just found in like the last week or 2. I'm like, oh boy, fresh audio dramas. Time to bring them to Kyle. Pitch number 1 is a show called Look Up. This comes out of the Bright Sessions family of products. This is a show written and created and starring Briggan Snow. There's Caleb from that show, you may remember.
Snow.
Yeah. Briggan Snow, quite a pal. And this show is about these 2 young men who have parents who are in this mission to Mars. And so they knew each other when they were kids, when their parents were like at this base doing all this training, getting ready to go to Mars. And so they were really closely bonded during that period when they were like 9 or 10 years old. And now it's later, they're in high school, they lost touch, they haven't seen each other in years, and their parents are due to come back. And so they reconvene back on this beach base, you know, like your Cape Canaveral or what have you. And the audio drama, I've only listened to episode 1 so far. It's just about these 2 boys like catching up, trying to learn like where are you in your life? Why did we lose touch? Where do we want to go? And like lots of worries about what are we going to do when our parents get back? How will they think about us when they haven't seen us in a decade? Will they be disappointed in us? Will we be disappointed in them? How is the real experience going to live up to this thing we've been building up in our heads for so long?
Reality versus expectations.
Yeah. And like the boys were like sort of celebrities. These are the children of the Marsstronauts. And so they talk about dealing with that sort of weird B-level fame throughout their lives. Got some neat stuff it's playing with. But yeah, Look Up. That is 10 episodes. And then pitch number 2 is a show called Passenger List.
Ooh.
This show is 2 seasons. Both seasons are 8 episodes long, so 16 episodes total. I found this and binged all of season 1 this week. It's really good, Kyle. I'll tell you that up front. This one's really good. Passenger List is a show that stars Kelly Marie Tran from Star Wars as this woman whose twin brother was on a flight from London to New York that went missing. They don't know if it crashed. You know, the FAA has been telling them like it was a bird strike. A bird got in the engine. We think the plane went down. We're still trying to find it. What are you doing?
Playing the lost music.
It's very lost. It's very lost. So it's about this young woman who says, I don't believe that. There's no way that happened. so many people have moved on. Her parents are moved on. They're like, we're having a funeral for your brother. And she's like, he's not dead, probably. You don't have a body. I'm not showing up to that. I think it's a sham. It's her investigating what may have happened to this flight. In every episode, like she's trying a different angle. She's talking to the people who knew the pilot, people who knew the co-pilot. There were these missionaries from Africa on the plane. Were they carrying some disease that infected everybody? Like, what could have sent the plane down? She's got like secret sources. It's a lot of secrets and conspiracies and espionage. And she's just like a college student who doesn't know what she's doing. She just knows she needs to find out what happened. Like, she can't rest until she has an answer. And she's like not going to school, not talking to her family. Everything's falling apart around her as she's just trying to scrape her way to the bottom of this.
Interesting. That sounds good.
Yeah, I've been digging that one a lot, as I said. And pitch number 3 is a show called Ronstadt. This is how many episodes is this?
Can you spell that?
Yeah, Ronstadt.
Okay.
This is 9 episodes, and this is a show produced by Q Code, who's produced some great audio dramas in the past, and Rhett and Link from the YouTube show Good Mythical Morning. They're the stars of this.
Interesting.
And so this stars a guy. This is a story about a guy named Ronstadt who has he's sort of keyed into the supernatural. And he gets a job working at a 911 call center late at night, handling their like X-Files of calls. Like, every time anybody gets anything weird, they're like, send it to Ronstadt. Ronstadt will deal with it. So it's about him weeding out like hoaxes and people who are panicked about nothing from what he thinks could be real supernatural problems. And he goes out there and he tries to solve them. And it's set in LA, and it's described as a supernatural noir comedy.
Natural noir comedy.
Yeah. So we've got a variety of different tones here. We've got that. Look Up is this very small, interpersonal, emotional story. Passenger List is this mystery thriller.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. These are all good choices. Good picks. Oh, this is a tough one, actually.
These are all good shows. I don't want to sway you in any way. I will say that, like I said, Passenger List is 2 seasons, and I already burned through season 1, and I'm very excited to get to season 2.
I mean, personally, that's the one I'm leaning towards, but also I like the idea of, like, I know who Rhett and Link are, like, I'm aware of their channel, but I don't really watch them or all that stuff, and so I just, like, I'm interested in the idea of, like, what do these 2 YouTubers sound like acting as other characters and stuff like that. Like, that's interesting to me. Let's go with Passenger List.
Okay.
It's so on brand for both of us.
Right. And these are all strong options. I listened to season 1 of Passenger List. I've listened to the first couple episodes of the other shows. They're all good. And like, they're all newer shows. So we're living in a great time for audio dramas. There's another show I just started called Bridgewater. What is it? Bridgewater. Yes. Yeah, which is from Aaron Mankey, the creator of Lore. Lauren Shippen's also working on this. Passenger List. Yeah, that's a Lauren Shippen production. She's like directing a lot of it, co-writing a lot of it. I'm happy you chose Passenger List. There's a lot going on with that one.
Passenger List. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to do both seasons, right? Okay. Yeah,
which is a total of 16 episodes, and they're like in the like 30-40 minute range.
Perfect. I am down with that. That sounds wonderful. I'm excited. Next week, Passenger List, the audio drama. You guys can get that wherever you get your podcasts on your podcasting app of choice. Just look up Passenger List or Passenger List Podcast. I'm sure you can find it there. Yeah, there you go. And then don't forget, end of the month, House of Leaves, which is interesting that we're covering that one because we've covered an anime by the name of House of Five Leaves early on in our review show stuff there. So there you go. House of Leaves at the end of the month. Passenger List seasons 1 and 2 this next week. I'm super excited about that. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities. This is me and my brother Jams talking about weird old kid shows you feel like only you remember. Jams was my guest co-host last week while Kyle was gone. We talked about a fun hockey-based rom-com comic called Check Please. Yeah, so you can hear more of us on Saturday Morning Obscurities. Our last episode was about a Cartoon Network show from, I think, 2011 called The Looney Tunes Show. We're going to do some Looney Tunes content to kind of go along with Space Jam: A New Legacy. And this was a sitcom, basically, where all the Looney Tunes characters were reinvented into like a sitcom format, where Bugs and Daffy were mismatched roommates. It's one of those, and it's surprisingly a very strong show. It's very funny.
Interesting. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Go check all that out. If you guys want to stay up to date with me, I'm at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter. And if you guys want to follow all of the stuff that we do here at The Whatnauts, we are at The Whatnauts on Twitter. So go like, share, subscribe. You guys know the deal with all of that. And with that, I guess we are getting out of here. This has been episode 169, I believe.
That's what you said.
Yeah, of the Whatnauts review show. So we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.